What are you doing? It's PR here, and I'm back at you with another rant video. This rant video has to do with Pro Football Focus. I've been going on a rampage against Pro Football Focus ever since I found out about Pro Football Focus. Pro Football Focus is a website that kind of grades and ranks players, not necessarily based on box score statistics, but kind of more of what happens on the field, or more of what they perceive to happen on the field. And you know, this is a website that's been kind of critically acclaimed. Cris Collinsworth worships it like it's his Bible, his God, his Jesus. But the thing is, the people of Pro Football Focus either don't know what they're doing, or they're being purposefully subjective. Here's an example of what Pro Football Focus is supposed to do. Pro Football Focus, you know, quarterback A, they throw to the receiver, and let's say it's a perfect pass and the receiver drops it, right? Whose fault is it, according to Pro Football Focus? Well, according to Pro Football Focus, it's the fault of the receiver, not the quarterback. But here's the thing. Pro Football Focus doesn't necessarily know what the play is, so how are they supposed to know whose fault it actually was? You know, the receiver's timing might have been wrong, the quarterback's timing might have been wrong, the receiver might have turned around too quickly, not quickly enough, the quarterback might have thrown too quickly or not quickly enough. Another example, offensive lineman A is guarding a defensive player, and let's say they come at the defensive player late, and the quarterback gets sacked. Well, the reason why they came at the defensive player late was because that wasn't the offensive player's assignment. The defensive player wasn't the offensive player's assignment to block. And you know, LaShawn McCoy has called them a bunch of nerds. One time, Pro Football Focus said that there was no way that an Alex Smith-led Chiefs team was going to win a Super Bowl. I mean, they still haven't, but then a week later they say, stop hating on Alex Smith. So it's kind of ridiculous to me. And the fact of the matter is, you know, I haven't seen all of their rankings, because you actually have to pay for their rankings. How pretentious do you have to be to have people pay for your rankings when they're not even that good? So you're probably like, well, you can't find an example of when they've just been ludicrously wrong. Oh, yes I have. But before I say why and what the example is, I know that I'm going to field the question of, well, if you think you're better than them, why don't you become one of their scouts? People look at their stuff all the time. You know, coaches, you know, they're on TV all the time, so therefore they've got to be good. I'll show you why that's a little bit BS in a second. If that was the case, then I wouldn't be bringing up examples for why their statistics are totally ludicrous. Why their rankings are totally ludicrous, not their statistics, because, you know, you can't really make up statistics. But they're like QBR and ESPN. QBR, which is just a completely useless stat that they happen to use all the time, but QBR is a topic for another video. All right, so this is not going to be a comparison between these two quarterbacks, because I know that's what's going to happen. I know a lot of Eagles fans have been very critical about this quarterback over the past offseason. But this was week 15. The Cowboys played the Raiders in a close game. The Eagles, they played the Giants in also a close game, but a higher scoring game. So Dak Prescott was given an 85.7 overall. After he had... Well, I'll tell you about the statistics later. Okay, so according to Pro Football Focus, if you look at the traditional stats, it may not look like a mediocre night for Prescott, but that doesn't quite tell the whole story. One of Dak's interceptions was not his fault. His arm was hit during the throwing motion, and he was perfectly on point on a couple of deep passes. that his receivers weren't able to haul in. I think there was like one that Dez wasn't able to catch. He also scored a touchdown on a scramble and had a couple of other nice runs that picked up first downs or good yardage. So that was Dak Prescott, 85.7 overall grade. Nick Foles, 75.2 overall grade. The final stat line looks like Foles picked up where Carson Wentz left off, with the journeyman backup making his first start since Week 9 of 2016, with Kansas City struggled throwing deep and outside the numbers. Foles was able to connect on just one of his 4 deep targets while completing just 2 of 6 to the right of the hashes beyond 10 yards. Also understand that one of those passes that were unable to be completed was a pass interference call against the Giants defense. When given a clean pocket, Foles picked apart the Giants secondary, completing 67.9% of his passes for 6.7 yards per attempt and all 4 of his touchdowns. He put the ball in harm's way on a couple of occasions, but Foles managed the game well in place of Wentz. 75.2 overall grade. Dak Prescott, he had an 85.7, so it's 10 points different. Dak Prescott's stat line was 18 for 27, 66% completion percentage, 212 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and I'm not even going to give over the passer rating because that really doesn't matter. That was Dak Prescott's stat line. Nick Foles' stat line, 24 for 38, 64% completion percentage, 237 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And Nick Foles was given a grade of 10 points less, more than 10 points less. All because Dak Prescott was able to complete 2 deep passes, a few receivers dropped a few passes, and he had his arm hit during an interception. Nick Foles had considerably better statistics, not to mention a considerably better game. Right? So, I don't understand how you could do that. I don't understand how you could get away with that kind of highway robbery when it comes to grading a player, ranking 2 players. And again, this isn't me saying that Dak Prescott is worse than Nick Foles or better than Nick Foles. No, this is just a one game kind of thing. How do you do this? How do you let this happen? Nick Foles had 4 more passing touchdowns, and he had 2 less interceptions. Any intelligent person, like, you could say, like, well, their methodology, their algorithm, but here's the thing. When you're grading players, you have to grade Nick Foles better than Dak Prescott in that situation. I don't care what your methodology is. Right? Because people read these. People are like, well, this guy obviously had a better game, and you can see how they wrote it for both players. Oh, Dak Prescott had this great game. Oh, but things weren't his fault. Things didn't go his way. Right? But with Nick Foles, it's all they're picking apart everything he's doing. They're like, oh, he picked up where Wentz left off. Yeah, that's all. Like, you can read it in the overall, grading summary. It's obvious subjective bias, no matter how you look at it. And that's all I have. This video has gone on long enough. This is a long enough rant. I think you get my point. There is no excuse. There is no excuse for this. And to be honest, if Pro Football Focus wants my respect, they would not have made their rankings like that. And again, I can't read all of their rankings because you gotta pay like $10 a month to use their services. Where, in effect, if that's the way they are going to rank their players, grade their players, I'm not gonna pay for their services, and nobody should pay for their services. That's all I have. It's PR. Peace. I'm out. See ya. Have a nice day.